Hello and welcome to Cinema of Blood. My name is John, and as you can see, I am in a devilishly red mood today. So, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about 50 years of horror movies, and I have got 5 movies from the year 2005. So, now the first thing I'm going to say about these 5 movies, 3 of them are what you would consider to be in the torture porn, as they call it, genre. Alright, so if that's not your bag, you know, I'm sorry, but around that time, around 2005, is kind of when the whole torture porn thing started, and then they kind of retroactively named movies like Saw, and probably even movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They kind of gave them the label of torture porn. The thing about it is with Texas Chainsaw, that's splatter. You know, even though there's not actually a lot of blood in the original Texas Chainsaw, but then with the remake and other movies, there's pretty much a ton of blood in these films. But yeah, around 2005, and the movies I'm going to be talking about is kind of when the whole moniker or name was given to that particular genre. And to be honest, it's really no different from any splatter movie that you watch. It may be a little bit more, I don't know, crueler, if you want to say it, but other than that, I don't see much of a difference. That's just me. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get underway. Alright, so the first one I'm going to talk about is The Descent. And this is directed and written by Neil Marshall. It stars Shauna McDonald, Natalie Mendoza, and Alex Reed. So what is this movie about? I went to see The Descent completely blind. I had no idea what this movie was about. But anyway, the very beginning of it, you have a husband, you have a wife, and you have a child, and they're driving along, and there's a horrific car accident. And the husband and the child are killed. Alright, that's not a spoiler. That's what happens at the very beginning of the movie. Okay, so cut to later, and the wife, played by Shauna McDonald, and her friends all get together. And what they do is every year they go on some kind of wild, extreme adventure, like probably stuff like rock climbing and things like that. Well, this time they decide to go, I hope I have the right word for this, spelunking. That's when you go down into caves, you explore the caves, and you come back out the other end. So they decide to explore this unexplored cave that nobody's been down. One of the girls found it, and they're like, let's do this, because they want to kind of try to cheer up Shauna McDonald's character. All right? So they get down there, and things start to kind of go wrong. You know, just little things. But the biggest thing about it is that they are not alone. All right? You know, you get little flashes and little hints that something or someone or something is watching them, until finally it all comes to a head, and these women, have to do their best to try to survive against these underground dwellers that live in this cave. And to quote the movie Chud, they are definitely cannibalistic, they are definitely humanoid, and they are definitely underground dwellers. Chuds, in other words. Like I said, I went into this movie blind. I had no idea what I was watching, what I was going to be watching, and it was one of the best horror film cinematic moments that I have ever had the experience of seeing. It was the Descent is absolutely it's wild. I mean, it is so good. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna stop gushing about this movie. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, watch it. You're gonna love it, I personally think. And the thing about it is, though, if you're claustrophobic, maybe not. I don't know. All right, anyway, let's move on. All right, so next up, and this is one of the ones that would definitely be considered what is known as torture porn. And I'm kind of glad I'm not monetized, because I'm wondering, am I allowed to say the word porn in a video without getting demonetized? You know, I mean, it's just a word. You know, big deal, whatever. Anyway, I am talking about The Devil's Rejects. And this is the second film in the Firefly trilogy. It is written and directed by Rob Zombie. It stars Sid Haig, Sherry Moon Zombie, and Bill Moseley. So, The Devil's Rejects kind of picks up where House of a Thousand Corpses left off. The only thing about it with House of a Thousand Corpses, Zombie did all these weird kind of experimental things with the camera, with different colors, different filters, and things like that. No, this movie here is just grimy. It is gritty. It's dirty. This is this kind of movie that just watching it, you feel like you kind of need a shower afterwards. It's just that slimy and dirty of a movie. And it is about the Firefly family, which is led by, of course, Captain Spaulding. You got Baby Firefly, and you got Otis, which is played by Bill Moseley. And he's got one of the best lines in this. And what happens is they take these this traveling I can't remember what it is they do, but the people, or the one of them is Jeffrey Lewis. One of them is I can't remember who all plays the victims in this movie, but they take them hostage and they do all kinds of horrific things to them. And like I said, it's just a nasty looking movie, but it is so much better to me than House of a Thousand Corpses. The first time I saw House of a Thousand Corpses, I'm just like, what is this shit? You know, but with this, I'm like, Zombie is just more focused on the story that he wants to tell, and it's just a dirty feeling. It's got a dirty feel to it, and it works so well for a movie like this. That is, I personally think this is Rob Zombie's best movie. You know, that is my personal opinion. And I'm going to say something that is a most unpopular opinion. Zombies Halloween, I actually liked it better than I did the original Halloween. Don't get me wrong, the original Halloween is a masterpiece, but I like the way Zombie gave Michael more of a backstory than Carpenter did. You know, and like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Carpenter. You can like both movies. It's okay. You know. All right. Anyway, that being said, oh, and another thing about The Devil's Rejects is that there's a sheriff or a sheriff's deputy or whatever. I think he's a sheriff, played by William Forsythe. And he's on the trail of the Devil's Rejects, so to speak, because of some crime they committed or somebody they killed. I can't remember who it is. So there's kind of that whole thing with that also, as well as them torturing these poor people. All right. So yes, that is The Devil's Rejects. So that was the first film that we're going to talk about that has to do with the whole torture porn thing. All right. Moving on. Now, this one does not have to do anything with torture porn. This is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. All right. This is directed by Scott Derrickson. It is written by Paul Harris Boardman and Scott Derrickson. It stars Jennifer Carpenter, Laura Linney, and Tom Wilkinson. Now, this is one of the things I'm going to go, before I talk about this movie, this is one of the things I hate about Internet Movie Database. I love Internet Movie Database, but one of the things I hate about it is that when they do the credits, you know, it says thing starring, they don't give credit where credit is due. So when I first saw this, it's listing Laura Linney, that's great. It lists Scott Wilkinson, that's great. But then it lists somebody, I'm like, who the hell is this? It doesn't even list Jennifer Carpenter, who plays Emily Rose in the movie. You know, so wait a minute, why is she not getting credit for this? All right. Anyway, The Exorcism of Emily Rose it's part horror movie. It is part courtroom drama. It is about a lawyer who takes on a case of a priest It is a case of negligent homicide, involving a priest who performed an exorcism on this young girl, the girl being Emily Rose. All right, so you get a little bit of before the trial, a little bit of what's going on with Emily, and and her whole thing about whether she's possessed or not. I mean, it's like when she sees certain people, their faces melt and it just freaks her out. And you're kind of sitting there wondering, okay, is she possessed or is this something psychological in her head? And that is kind of what the movie tries to determine through the courtroom drama that unfolds. All right. Now, of course, this is directed by the same director who directed Sinister, who also directed The Black Phone, and of course directed the first Doctor Strange movie. And when I first saw this, I didn't really appreciate it as much as the second and third time that I watched it. I grew to appreciate this movie a lot more as the more times I watched it. It's actually pretty compelling as far as a horror movie is concerned. And I don't mean to say anything bad about horror movies. Horror movies are great. That's what I watch. That's what I love. All right. But yeah, it took me repeated viewings, and Jennifer Carpenter is absolutely fantastic in this movie. If you've only seen her playing Deb on Dexter, you need to watch this movie. All right. Just put it that way. You just need to watch The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Anyway, that being said, let's move on. All right, next up, we have got Hostel. All right, so if you want one that is right there in the middle of the torture porn controversy or whatever you want to talk about it, it is Hostel, okay? So this is written and directed by Eli Roth. It stars Jay Hernandez, Derek Richardson, and Eyþór Gudjonsson. All right. The thing about Eyþór, who plays Ole, Eyþór had never acted before, and he met Eli Roth. I believe they were in Iceland, and he was so charming that Eli wanted to put him in a movie. All right. Never been in a movie before. And so he did. He wrote a part for him for Hostel, and other than a few commercials, this is the only movie he has ever been in. Okay, so what is Hostel about? Hostel is about these two American backpackers and their friend, the Icelandic Ole, who are traveling through Slovakia, I believe it is. And they go to this hostel. Now, hostel, of course, means hotel in foreign countries. Thing about it is, though, this hostel is kind of a front where they take these backpackers and they drug them, they take them away, and they take them to this warehouse where there are people there who pay a certain amount of money in order to be able to kill whoever they choose, however they choose. All right? That's what happens. So you got these two American backpackers, and you got one of them, the more sensitive, and I'll say this about Eli Roth's movies. Eli Roth seems to love to kill off the most sensitive character in a movie first. And that's exactly what happens in Hostel. It happens in Hostel 2, and it happens in The Green Inferno. All right? That is what he does. Now, the thing about Hostel is kind of I actually chatted with Eli Roth about Hostel one time, and he basically said it's about these people, Americans, who go over to these foreign countries and think because, oh, I'm American, I am totally invincible. He wanted to be able to write and direct a movie that shows, no, you're not. And that's exactly what he does with Hostel. I love Hostel. I do. I think it's one of the best horror movies, and I absolutely love it. And it's definitely bloody. It is. So if that's not your thing, you're not going to like this movie. But like I said, I, for one, loved it. All right. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking about Hostel so we can get on to the last movie. And this, again, is another one in the torture porn genre. You can kind of see a pattern here with the year 2005. Okay? Anyway, the next one is Wolf Creek. All right? Okay, so this is written and directed by Greg McLean. It stars Cassandra McGrath, is it Kesty? Yes, Kesty Marassi, and John Jarrett. Okay, so Cassandra McGrath's character, Kesty Marassi's character, and I can't remember the male character's name. They are traveling through Australia, and they are on their way to this crater known as Wolf Creek. I don't know. I think it's kind of a man-made crater. I'm not really sure, but anyway, they run into Mick, and Mick is played by John Jarrett. And everything is fine for a while. They're all sitting around the campfire, and Mick, he's very colorful, and everybody's just kind of like endeared to him and everything. He's very charming, and then the next thing you know, they wake up and they're all tied up, and Mick has taken them all hostage because Mick is pretty much a homicidal maniac. That is exactly what he is. And once that side of his personality begins to shine through even more, Mick is absolutely terrifying. All right. John Jarrett knocks this performance out of the park. All right. He will scare the crap out of you. You will never want to go backpacking in Australia or anywhere else again. I mean, you do this movie as a double feature with Hostel. Yep, you'll never leave your house. I'm telling you that right now. Anyway, that is Wolf Creek. That is what Wolf Creek is all about. And does it get bloody? Does it get gory? Not so much as Hostel. It's just Jarrett's performance in this. He is evil. All right. He's got this laugh. I can't imitate it, but when you hear this laugh, you're just like your spine will run cold, because you know that the character on screen that hears that laugh, it's about to end for them. Anyway, that is 5 movies from the year 2005. I kind of got sidetracked or kind of got distracted. My dog was barking for some reason. I don't know why. She barks at everything. If a flea farts, she barks. All right. Anyway, that is 5 movies from the year 2005. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know what you think of The Red Room. All right. Anyway, take care and stay scared. Bye-bye.